Such sweet confirmation. I've been saying for a while. I know that. Well, I can't name them, but obviously, I'd be willing to bet that there are a good amount of other people that saw the Nori Toshikamo reveal. Like, I'm not gonna. As far as I know, within my friend circle, I was the first one to say it, but I don't know about the large scale. Like, I don't know if there's somebody who called it, like, long before me. I've never looked for other YouTube video theories and whatnot. But I will say, at least within my influential bubble, I was the first one that I'm aware of that believed this was who was inside Geto's body. And I was happy to see this in this chapter. If somebody's can say, like, I called this like 2 weeks before me or whatever, cool. I'm just saying, I'm happy that it's something that at least I saw and was able to work out a logical way of, like, yeah, this makes sense of who this guy is. Because there weren't many, like, big characters set in the background. Like, we knew about, like, Sukuna, obviously, but we didn't, like, this weird human was brought up when, we found out about, like, Choso, Echizu, and, Choso, Eso, and Kechizu's backstories as, like, those cursed wombs and whatnot. Or, painted wombs, I think they were called. I can't remember exactly what their long title is, but obviously, I'm talking about. It's funny, like, I don't remember exactly what the curses items are called, but I remember the three of them by name. And I liked them. I thought they're all pretty cool, especially Choso. I was a little bummed at the end of the chapter to see this guy, in such a rattled state, but it makes sense of the story. That's obviously what matters more. But this guy, I really liked some of the moments for him this chapter. I'm hoping to see before this arc is fully over, like a note of what his plan is. Like, if he just says something on his way out, like a vague statement of his plan. Like, if he's literally just like, oh, I want to start what Geto Suguru, I want to finish what Geto Suguru started, but maybe he wanted to include sorcerers or something, or curses. I don't know. Either way, like, I thought him talking about what he originally believed was the best nature of the curse manipulation technique was obviously having a ton of abilities at your disposal. And he's like saying how the Uzumaki ability, we saw that in the, if anybody who's read Volume 0, it's kind of what Geto could do to the quantity of his curses. Like, anytime he could just be like, okay, Uzumaki, make all the ones that he has stored up and just drop all of them. It's kind of like an all-in move. And the only time, and like, he describes it pretty well. It's like recycling low end of curses. But one thing that I think is definitely you've got to overlook, or I think he was at the time overlooking, is it's a massive I'm gonna drop a big move on somebody. Screw it. And outside of the like when we saw previously when he was fighting Yuji, when he's just using someone on Yuji, outside of those small ones that have like really good specific techniques, I don't imagine a lot of them are that useful. Like, thinking back to early series, what was it? The one the one that off the top of my head, like any of the early series actually ones. I was gonna pick one specific, but anyone that doesn't have a power, where it's just like I'm just a dangerous creature, like I'm bigger than than a bear. Like, what is it, like the flea one in chapter 1, or that weird one that tried to kill that kid against Kugisaki at the start. Like any of those, that it's like you don't really have anything that's dangerous outside of just being big and powerful. Stuff like that, I can see him just being like, okay, yeah, like that's perfect fodder for dropping the Uzumaki ability. But when he's talking about it, he's like, the true value is when cursed spirits of semi-grade 1 or higher are used and the technique is extracted. So, does this mean that he'll be able to use Mahito's abilities? And I am super curious about that. Like, the wording behind that, I'm genuinely very intrigued by. But this guy definitely, he's doing some Aizen moves. I really liked the way that he was in this chapter. When he was talking about the Uzumaki, because you had some of the Kyoto people show up. Like, you had pretty much Mekamaru's whole team. And he actually wasn't Panda in the chapter too? I'm scrolling down. So I'm trying to remember some of them. Because some of these characters, like, I recognize their faces. I know where they are in the story, and I can remember, like, parts about them. But some of their names, obviously, they just haven't been too much in it that I remember. Was it Utahime, the one that has the scar on her nose? The sword guy, I remember him. Like, I remember him, like, obviously in this arc. He obviously was on the last volume and stuff, but he hasn't done a lot. I feel like he's one of those characters that is being set up to get, that we'll know way more about after this arc. So, unfortunately, since what happened to Nanami, I think, it would make sense getting, this new teacher character, because, Satoru's all locked up. But I did really like when, oh my god, I'm remembering, I'm forgetting her name again. The girl, obviously, Mekamaru liked. She's the one fangirling over Satoru. She's a swordsman, swordswoman. I'm trying to remember exactly what her name is, just because we don't see a lot of her. Like, a lot of these guys, it's just, you don't get enough frequent them. I feel like when I get in the anime more, like, I watch the anime, but I feel like if the anime does, what a lot of anime do in a good way, not like, oh, we want to just add filler. It's like, hey, we want to add a couple scenes in this episode because we don't want to use 2 full chapters, we want to use 1.5 or whatever, and they add a little extra character content. Like, imagine they just do like a chapter where it's like a slice of life chapter, but they expand it into a whole episode, and then you just get like a couple extra scenes showing some of the smaller characters doing fun stuff, or get into another character more, because that's one of those things that you get in like Black Clover and Fairy Tail in the animes. They add way more character kind of just exploring moments for like the smaller members of the cast, and then obviously more important members as well. But it gives you a much bigger kind of like look into the individuals, and I think that just helps people generally memorize stuff more, even if it's like a character you aren't too hyped about. Because I don't have an issue with any of these guys. Like, none of these guys are characters I'm like, ugh, I don't want these guys around. And none of them are, I'm kind of like, ugh, I don't care if these characters die. Like, I liked all of them. I was really worried for a second when the swords girl, I gotta look up her name, because I looked her up a couple weeks ago because I was remembering the Mekamaru stuff, and I couldn't remember what her name was then too, because she hasn't really done a whole lot in general. Because in Mekamaru's name, easy name to remember, but like in the Kyoto versus Tokyo battle, he had a really good showing. Like, his fight with Panda was really cool. Both of them just giving off displays of their good abilities. Obviously, the one dude, Noritoshi Kamo, he's got a very similar name as Kamo Noritoshi. Like, their names are, right in that kind of like spot. Miwa Kasumi, that's her name. I was trying to remember because like she's just, I don't think she's really been involved in any arcs. I think that this is the first time we really have seen her in a serious fight too. I don't know. Either way, like I liked her showing up. I thought like her group, like the Maki sister having the sniper rifle, I thought that was sick. The arrow shots were cool from Kamo. I really liked just in general these guys all arriving and getting to do stuff, because I don't think we've seen any of them really in this whole arc, to be perfectly honest. Because this is the longest arc of the series. This has taken over this is almost half of the series. Because this started at like 80 something. Like, I think this stuff with Mekamaru started in like the 80s and Shibuya started in the upper 80s. Either way, like, you still got more than a third of the series in the Shibuya incident. And these guys haven't really done anything. Like, none of these guys, I think, have even had like a small fight this arc that I remember. But when Kamo, when he was talking about the Uzumaki beforehand, I genuinely really like how he made it seem like he just wasn't interested in that technique and he wasn't going to use it. And then, like, when he got into a spot where it's like, fuck it, he decided to use it. And, like, he was going to just nuke down Kasumi. He was just going to destroy her. It wasn't like okay, let's play a little. It's like, no, I'm just going to kill you. He seems very brutal. Like, he has, like, kind of like an early Mayuri vibe, but, like, with that Aizen sense. And I know some people like don't like it when you compare series, but it gives it a very easy way to kind of understand characters. If you can look at areas where they can compare to another character you understand, but then always, obviously after that point, understand where like the differences between the characters' motivations, design, and essentially everything that isn't the base similarities. Because this dude has that, as we saw like in his backstory, like he was like some weird old style scientist, kind of like doctor dude, especially with curses and whatnot. So him having almost no value for the life of others, being able to kill somebody not valuable to him so easily wouldn't surprise me. Like if he's just like whatever, who cares, no remorse kind of dude. But the panda being in this, I'm wondering, I don't think we've seen his third form, because we have like the base one, we have this one where it's like the gorilla form, and I don't think we've seen the last one. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think so. But see, like I mentioned in the video, I say like and too often in my reviews just because they're word filler, and I try to keep my reviews very organic and not scripted. Like, the closest I'll have is like if I write down a note of something I really want to mention that, I might forget. But this guy, super hyped, because Choso is the only one with pre-existing reason to have beef with this dude. But Choso also has his brain manipulated by whatever Yuji's like odd memory power is. So he thinks that Yuji is his brother. It's a little weird because Choso obviously is a bad guy, and he's killed a lot of people. Choso isn't that bad guy who it's like, oh, he can get converted and become a good guy. He's killed a lot of innocent people. So it's not like, example, Gajil from Fairy Tail. Just as a quick one. I mean, I'm sure most people, even if you haven't, you don't really care for Fairy Tail, like, you probably have gotten a Gajil. He was a bad guy at the start, but he was more of like an antagonist. He wasn't evil. He was an enemy. He came with baggage and stuff that, that was a weight onto like his character, in both his reputation and just like opinions of the readers. But he wasn't a murderer. And it's not like, oh, he killed a guy on our team, and it's like, oh, that was the battlefield kind of thing, and, look at perspectives and whatnot. It's like, no, he killed a lot of innocent people for just to get Satoru into a spot. None of them are redeemable. Nobody in the curse group that was present for that is redeemable. And then the last thing I definitely wanted to mention in the chapter is the girl at the end. I'm trying to remember her name. She's been in the series for a while. Like, she's been in a long time. And then we got her name, it was like right after, I think it was right after Sukuna beat Joko. Right? 117 or something? I'm looking at the chapter. Or actually, I think it was right after he beat the big monster that was summoned. No, I think it was Joko, because it was at the very end of his big onslaught. Actually, no. Joko happened. Joko was Joko before that. Yeah, because that's how he got outside. And then before that, it was Megumi summoning his super giant monster, and then he sliced up the city, killed that one dude. But I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Or did he fight? Actually, no. I'm looking back because I'm like, it's been so long since I read through this fight. But I think it was right after he beat Jogo. Like, he talked to the one girl, and then Megumi showed up. I think that's what happened. I'm looking back on a couple things. Yeah, that one girl, Ura Ume, because she was really weird. I'm surprised she has a bigger role, because she hasn't done anything. She had that one spot, like one more comparison, not the same, nothing in plot, but kind of like the similar role, is there was that one Upper Moon in Kimetsu no Yaiba, the one that had like played the instrument that has like the one eye, and she wasn't a fighter. She seemed to just be very close, like, she was close to Muzan enough that he seemed to kind of like her because her power is convenient. But on top of that, she just, she was an always kind of, she just seemingly always active, but always not that, like, a big threat. And that's kind of how I really see this girl. We haven't really seen her be that active, but she's kind of like that same style where she's been in the background, and we just haven't really gotten to her yet. But if she knew, the thing is, though, Sukuna seems to know her on a personal level. Like, he calls her by her name. The fact he remembers her, he was surprised to see her, and she wasn't afraid of him, means that she's a bigger deal character than I think a lot of people give her credit for. And then seeing her at the end of this chapter go to block Choso, like, for one, the fact that she's intercepting Choso means that she has to be within special grade territory, obviously. But, she even calls him a bottom feeder. She's belittling him. It's not going to surprise me if she's a super high-ranking special grade. Like, it would not surprise me, because she looks very human, and we know the more human they are, the, like, more intelligent and more powerful of curses they are. The more advanced they are, the higher tier they are. So, this chapter, like, there was a lot of smaller characters finally getting to do stuff I was happy about. I'll be pretty stoked if we can get, like, a chapter where we just have, like, them each get, like, another cool moment to do something before this arc's over. And then that dude kind of just roll out, because we know that they can't beat him. He's way more powerful than them. And he's way more experienced. He's way more intelligent. They're just not in a good spot to fight this dude at all. But I'm hoping they could all get a good moment, like before this is all over. Because even amongst this. Even amongst this chapter and them getting to do stuff, it was, to me, way more of a Kamo Noritoshi chapter. Just because it was way more exploring on his mindset as a character and him 4D chessing like a lot of these characters. Like, he's like the Aizen or the Zeref of the series. He's like a mixture of both because he masterminded him, but he has that ancient evil kind of like style that like Zeref coveted, except, you know, he wasn't as somebody like deeply laid out as much, but he was, you know, it was just that Easter egg in the background, wait for it to happen, and then creeping up, now we know. So I've been pretty stoked, just in general about what's going on, and I'm looking forward to the next arc. I don't think there's going to be any more major battles this arc, I would assume, and I really genuinely want to see what the plans are, you know, with what's going to go on with Satoru and the Cube. Who's gonna, you know, what's gonna, oh, hiccup there. What's gonna go on near the, you know, with like the big villains? Because Jogo dead, Nanami dead, Dagon dead, Mahito taken by Kamo. Like, what's the plan gonna be? I know that there's gonna be a lot more bad guys coming out now that Satoru is sealed up, which is fine. But I'm curious to know what angle like the author's gonna go in from here on out, because this was a big plot twist within the series. Because up until this point, it was about the Curse Group trying to seal Satoru in order to start this new age of curses, whether they get Sukuna or not. But this dude is a complete and total wrench in everything. And then what Akutami's plan is with Mahito is really weird too. Because, like, is Mahito, it's like, is he gonna somehow get free? Is he gonna still, like, be his own character? Or is he, you know, a summons for Kamo now? I don't know. Either way, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about what's going on here and what's going on from like your point of view of the general direction of the story. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, friend, the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.